Alrighty, guys, welcome to tonight's session. It is Tuesday, September 5th. Welcome. Hopefully, everybody's had a good day. Today, we're going to be going over the action today. We ended up taking two trades. We'll go over those as well. And then we'll talk about what we're looking at going into tomorrow. So, first thing I want to talk about is my bias going into the day. Now, I did have a kind of neutral bias going into the day. I knew that we were probably going to get slow action, probably not going to get an expansion move just because it was the day after Labor Day. I want to start to see price. I still want to see price expand back down into this daily fair value gap, but we are continuing to hold this daily fair value gap. So looking on NQ, going into the morning, I was pretty bullish, but action was showing a lot of bearish action as well. So at the open, I wasn't really looking to touch anything. But just going back to our simple roots of just understanding the basic draw on liquidity. If we just took this level here and we start to get bought back up, right, what is the easiest thing that's most likely going to be the draw, right? Whatever that swing high is, right? That is what, I think today was a little bit, that choppy morning starts to, cloud your bias and such. But just understanding that sell side swept here, we get displacement back up, continuing to hold that inverse fair value gap is very, very bullish. And then we got that expansion move to the upside. So zooming in on NQ, again, I didn't really want to touch anything here. The only really opportunity that I would look to take some sort of trade on NQ would be once we come down, we chop, we sweep this internal low, we get displacement back up. You could look to long this fair value gap. Once we break through this high here, we get a lot of displacement, we pull it back. This could be a possible long in this fair value gap, but again, a little bit more risky just because the price action. But that would have been a bad, and then run it up to buy side. And then later in the day, wouldn't have touched really anything here. This would have been an okay long. The reason I don't really like this long is because we created kind of these equal highs, and a lot of the time I want to see price go back to discount of that range first. But we did come back. We did hold this 5-minute fair value gap, which is not bad at all. So this wouldn't have been a bad setup. We come down, hold the 5-minute. Following the trend, draw still higher. We didn't take that high. Break a structure to the upside. You get this fair value gap. Take some longs, and then you would have rode that all the way to the highs. I would have taken most off at a discount of this range though, and then let the rest go. And then the PM session trade, I was at lunch. Okay, so let's talk about the trade first. So this is A+ setup. This is the one A+ setup that formed today, in my opinion. We came up again, sweep of that external buy side. Notice, no, not internal buy side right here. A very clear external buy side level, right? Very, very clear. We also have an internal high right here as well that gets taken, right? So zooming into a 5-minute, what am I now looking for? I'm looking to see displacement back to the downside, right? So finally, right here, we get our market structure shift. Notice the displacement to the downside. I'm looking for price to now retrace back into discount. I entered shorts a little bit early right here. I put my stop right here. Never ended up getting touched. But I got to admit to you guys, today I did break my rules. I wasn't at my PC at the time. I did see this trade. I took it on my phone. I was at lunch when it happened. I was at lunch. I entered short, and I saw us continuing to push up, and I just decided to take it off because I was at lunch, and I was like, I don't really want to worry about it. So I took it off, and literally right when I took it off, again, didn't hit my stop loss, didn't do anything. It ended up flushing all the way to my PT, and I missed out on this move and ended up taking a loss on it. But a lot of you guys ended up taking a W on that, so happy for that. Again, this was the number one A. This was probably the best A+ setup you could have taken today. Looking back as well, one thing that I want to start to implement is getting every single verification of an entry, right? Because like if we were to replay this, right, a lot of the time when we do get these models on a bigger time frame, right, because we did take that 15-minute high, we have now a break of structure on the 5-minute, right? So now I'm looking for a pullback to discount, a respect of that bigger time frame fair value gap, and then an intraday or a 1-minute displacement to the downside with a fair value gap, right? So if I was to wait for that, right, notice I'm waiting for a bearish fair value gap to enter a bearish fair value gap. Notice no bearish fair value gap yet. No bearish fair value gap yet. Nothing. Boom. Come up, rejects. You get the displacement, extra confirmation. You get a close below this bullish fair value gap, which is bearish. You enter short on that retest of this fair value gap, and that is the best possible entry you can get. Every single confirmation you can get right there, right? You're trading that bigger time frame model. You got buy side swept, bigger time frame displacement to the downside, pull back to discount. You wait for that 1 minute fair value gap to get displacement to the downside, and then that would be your short. And then you can end up, we ended up selling off all the way down. So if you guys took that, did anybody here take that, or who got stopped and who made money on that trade? Click on the 5 minute. So the reason I put my stop where I did, and so Ollie ended up taking this trade as well. The reason I put my stop where I did, and the reason why I think Ollie got stop on it, is I don't think Ollie put his stop right? Because again, noticing where we're retracing back to, if I'm on a 5 minute, right, and I know that we have a 5 minute fair value gap here and a 5 minute fair value gap here, number one, I'm gonna focus on the one in discount, so I'm obviously gonna focus on this. Now, what do I normally, if I'm gonna take a fair value gap, where am I normally gonna put my stop, right? And that should be in a tight stop at that, right? The best validation that I want to see is the high of that fair value gap, right? So this is where I put my stop, right? Notice the candle that creates that fair value gap, the top of that wick, is where I put my stop loss. Notice we never invalidated this. We never closed above. We continued to respect this, and then we ended up selling back off. So I put my stop here, would have never gotten touched, and we ended up having a big sell-off to that low. That was I would say that's the only A+ setup that we really had today. Yeah, my stop was on the top of that fair value gap, candle on the 5 minute, hit TP, nice. One thing I want to say as well is I want you guys to start becoming more comfortable with holding your positions, because when I trade, I can afford to lose because my winners are very big. I let my winners run a lot of the time because I have conviction with that. But a lot of you guys, how many people in this took this trade or took some sort of trade today, or just in general? How many times do you guys take trades and you think that it's going to go to a certain point, right? And you end up taking it off before that point, but then price eventually does go to that point. How many times does that happen to you guys? Yes, all the time, yes. So the reason what I want to talk about this, because my winners always outweigh my losers. I can win, I can lose 3 losses, 4 losses in a row, and really one trade is going to bring that back for me, right? And that's the reason is because I take advantage of what I know, right? Now, looking at just charts and just talking about ICT concepts in general, if we sweep buy side, we have displacement to the downside, we have a pullback, and then you get that internal rejection, what should you most likely be holding to? Now, I would say that you can take off some contracts here. That's definitely okay. But you should be leaving the most of your position to this low, which is low-hanging fruit, which is very, very confident that this low is going to be taken, right? This is a clear internal model, right? But a lot of you guys won't do that because you're afraid of what's going to happen before that. You don't have the patience to do so, right? Because a lot of you guys get to this point where price is right here, right? We've now sold off. You're like, oh, I'll sell. Or even if it's that right there, maybe if it's even right here a little bit early, right? Now, definitely look to scale here, but I'm looking to scale most of my position here. But a lot of the reason why you guys don't do that is because you're afraid of what happens before, right? Because price can come, back up here and then chop a little bit and then maybe come back, blah, blah, blah. And then we get there, right? You are just don't want to hold through that, right? Now, a lot of the times, it's once you start to notice that price goes to where we think it's going to go, right? Buy side goes to sell side goes to buy side in this most simplistic terms and working off PD arrays. The more that you start to watch that happen, the more that when you enter a trade and you have a convictional bias for whatever it is, you won't touch it until it gets to wherever that is, right? And that fear starts to drift where you're like, oh, fuck, like, it's going to bounce, right? I need to take profit, whatever it is. Let your winners do the work for you, but you have to have conviction with it. Now, there's a difference between greed and there's a difference between having high probability conviction, right? Now, if you are trading, and blindly enter a long or blindly enter a sell, and you just keep holding it, and then it flips against you, yeah, you're going to get fucked for not taking profits because you had no conviction there to begin with. But if you have a system like we do, and you can replicate it and you build confidence with it over time, that is when you'll be able to hold your runners and hold those positions longer because you have confidence to where the market is drawing to, right? That's what I want you guys to focus on. Whenever we do our live sessions or charting sessions, whatever it is, that's what I want you guys to really start to focus on, right? So let's go over that ES trade as well. So ES short in the morning. Again, I truly believe if this was not if this was not Labor Day, this trade would have worked. I mean, I looked back and I was watching ICT's live stream from today, and he was going to take this exact same trade, but he didn't because it was Labor Day. So looking at this ICT or ES, we come down, we come up, we have SMT at the highs, we sweep internal, we get big displacement back down, we come up and we reject this 5-minute fair value gap here, a big wick. So looking at this, we have 5-minute pushes up, big wick to the downside. I'm expecting a follow through, right? Straight to the downside. And most of the time, that's what price is going to do, right? We expand up, we reject, and we have an expansion move to the downside, right? That's most of the time what is going to happen. But since today, you can see we're very, very choppy, all over the place, stuck in this range. So looking in the 1 minute, I waited for that validation on bigger time frame to reject, waited for that fair value gap to go short, and I was looking to see us come down to that daily fair value gap. Now, my original stop on this trade was around here, but I didn't let it go to my stop, and I want to talk about why. Now, normally, most of the time, I'm very against taking off positions early before your P-tier stop losses hit, because a lot of the time, you guys can't you can't just sit still, right? You let fear get into the way, you let grid get in the way, and you take it off too early. Now, the times when I do think it is okay is when you have conviction against whatever you're trading. And I want to talk about how I did today and why I decided to take it off. I ended up getting stopped out around here for like a $200, $300 loss instead of, $800 or $900, whatever it would have been, right? So looking at NQ at the time, looking at ES. ES is very bearish. NQ is very bullish though, right? Now, noticing where we are, we can see NQ took this buy side level right here. And we get displacement to the downside, but notice there's no break of structure, right? There's one low here, doesn't break through. One low here, doesn't break through. When I see NQ now bounce back to the upside, I need to see this bullish fair value gap get ran through to the downside. This has to get ran through. If we continue to hold this bullish fair value gap, notice where we are right now on ES, right? We're bearish on ES, but NQ is super bullish. So what do you think is gonna push the other one? NQ is obviously gonna push ES, even though ES is bearish though, right? So noticing on NQ, we are continuing to hold this bullish fair value gap. There is no desire to break through this. Right when I see ES or NQ continue to hold this, I take off my trade on ES, and right when I do so, ES ends up flying to the upside, and I avoided, a pretty big stop there. Because I noticed, right, NQ, what does NQ look like we want to do? We come down, we respect these fair value gaps here, we bounce off, we have no displacement to the downside. So if there's no displacement to the downside, there's no reason for us to continue to sell off, right? So if there's no reason to continue to sell off, and we're continuing to respect bullish fair value gaps, it's going to mostly push ES up with it. So I decided to take it off early, and I saved myself a really nice loss there. So happy with that. Good management on that end, being able to understand where price wants to go and being able to think quick and protecting yourself. I haven't tried it yet, John. What do you think about adding on new fair value gaps created after your entry? Yes, absolutely. Anything that's in favor and against your favor too, you want to notice what's being respected, what's being disrespected, even after your position, right? That's exactly what I did here, right? Even though I'm already in a trade here, I'm still noticing what price is doing, right? I'm in shorts, and I'm noticing on NQ, right? Even though I'm in a position, this is now formed after I've entered that position, and NQ starting to respect a bullish fair value gap, right? That's not what I want it to do, right? And if we continue to do so, I know that that's going to push back to that previous high we had, right? So always, even after you enter position, you want to see how price is reacting. After sweeping pre-market high. It's a possibility, but the price action was so wacky. And there was no internal model, I don't think, either. So we came up, swept this high, displacement back down. We came up, rejected this 5-minute. But zooming in, I don't even think there was a 1-minute entry, really. Did we have an SMT here? If we had an SMT here, then there might have been. Okay, we did have an SMT. This is not bad. So I would say after this, after we come up have SMT, I mean, actually, I would probably look. The action on ES is just terrible. Notice the candles, right? Notice the volume of the candles, right? Very, very slow. But if there was something, this does look nice. Once you get this SMT, that's pretty much a lot of validation, and then you wait for the displacement. And then you aim for that previous low first. But again, action today was really all over the place. Like, I really do not like anything today, except for that PM trade on NQ. But looking at ES, I definitely, again, still think that the draw is going to come into that daily fair value gap. So let's talk about going into tomorrow. Let's look at ES first. So daily fair value gap is still what I'm looking for. We've ran through that volume imbalance. Looking to see us now come back into this daily fair value gap. I'm looking to sweep sell side, and then I will be bullish. Now, we can come back down lower. I'm actually going to mark out this high here from the previous. Want to see that now act as support. If we can come back down to this fair value gap, I want to start to see displacement to the downside, and we could potentially maybe even get a setup short to target the daily fair value gap. But I would need to see some sort of buy side level being swept. So our most recent high now is going to be here. So I'm going to mark this in as our buy side on ES. Now, this looks like we'll probably end up taking this in the overnight session, but we'll see what happens. But going into tomorrow, I do want to start to see if we can retrace back into this daily. And then that's when I'm going to be zooming in and looking for internal model to possibly continue to the downside. Or if we get displacement back up, I'll be looking to long back to buy side. On NQ, pretty much the same thing, but NQ looks a little different now. NQ now has come up, swept that buy side level. We'll see if we head back down or not, but NQ is still respecting this daily fair value gap. We have not yet come to here, but we do have this daily fair value gap, and we are having a lot of accumulation here. So it looks like we want to have an expansion, and it can go either way here. We could expand to the upside, we can expand to the downside, but it looks like we do want to have an expansion move because in the last 3 days, we have literally sat here, formed 3 daily doji candles, and have gone pretty much nowhere, right? So I would like to see start an expansion move or starting to move tomorrow or on Wednesday or on Thursday to really get us, going in some direction because right now we're kind of just consolidating. So I would like to see this continue back to the downside and start to see us take this low. It is a possibility for us to maybe form a bullish SMT as well, but I do believe and I would want to see that daily fair value gap still become the draw. But if we continue to hold this, then we could see an expansion move to the upside. And in that case, I'd be looking for these highs to get violated and then come to buy side. Any questions? I get what you're looking at here, bro, but I would not take this number 1 pre-market and notice the other side around, right? There's no displacement above this in my opinion. There's no displacement above this because again, this is a very big high here. Notice if this is the range, displacement needs to be almost this exact same range here, right? And this to me looks like these equal highs are swept, displacement down, pull back to fair value gap, then rejection to go lower to take sell side. What am I looking at here? Low resistance, market structure. Is there an SMT with that high or no? Or a bigger time frame for value gap there? Oh, you rejected. Okay, yeah. I like that. Yeah. Looks good. Charting sessions need to have 100 plus people, not 50. I know. Yeah, late nights are hard sometimes too because everybody is over all across the world, so it's a different time for everybody. All right, guys, that is pretty much all I have for you guys tonight. I'm excited to see what happens tomorrow because price is starting to kind of develop, especially on this daily. It looks like we want to have an expansion move just because we've been consolidating. So looking to see what happens. Oh, yeah, let me check gold real quick. I don't want to check CL because I don't give a fuck about CL anymore. CL sucks. Let me check gold, though. Gold is also kind of a no-touch area right now. We're just chopping daily. We've now broken through this fair value gap, so I am bearish now on gold. We've now invalidated this, so now I'm looking to see this become inverse. So there's probably a 4-hour here. We have this 4-hour fair value gap. I want to see this come back too, and then look to see more downside. I want to see that. So I'm looking to see gold get bought back up in that 4-hour, and then look to see displacement back down. All right, guys. That's all I have for you guys tonight. Enjoy the rest of your night. I will see you all tomorrow morning. Get some rest, and I'll see you then. Peace.